All right, so it's just after rush hour here at Al's Beef in Little Italy, right here on Taylor Street, and I'm here with my friend David. David, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Doing really good. Just had an Italian beef, so feeling strong and full.
Yeah, you got to be. And we were just talking before about you got to assume the stance when you eat the Italian beef. Why don't you demonstrate the stance? And that's just so you don't get anything on
Over your tracksuit. Yeah,
right, and that's why I haven't had mine yet, in full disclosure. But you wrote this book in conjunction with Monica Eng, and the book, Made in Chicago, stories behind the 30 greatest hometown bites here in Chicago. But explain exactly what that means and what you really want people to take away from, because this is a book designed to be with you in the car, in the glove compartment,
Yes.
or in your bike.
We made
satchel.
it small enough so that you could fit it in your back pocket, purse, backpack, glove compartment, or whatever. Travel around the city to different neighborhoods and try the foods that are sometimes unique to those neighborhoods, as they're not sold outside those neighborhoods. Now we're here on Taylor Street, which is where my family used to have a pharmacy shop at the turn of the century. They got off the boat from Italy and lived on Taylor Street, had a little place. Now, the Italian beef sandwich, of course, did not originate in Italy. I think they should call it the Italian-American steak sandwich. Because
Or
it was
Chicago
brought here,
even, right?
It was developed here by Italian-Americans. Now, one motivation for writing the book was to illustrate the way that many times immigrants would come to the city of Chicago and adapt the dishes of their home country to American tastes. And sometimes they adapted the tastes of other cultures' foods to Chicago taste. For instance, the corn roll tamale, which they serve at a lot of Italian beef stands. It's included in the Mother-in-Law, one of the more infamous of the Chicago sandwiches, which is basically a poppy seed bun with the Chicago corn roll tamale in there, covered in chili, dressed like a Chicago hot dog, sport peppers,
beautiful
onions, and so on.
It's just beautiful sounding.
It's not as awesome as a Mexican tamale.
No, it's not. It's completely different. It's its own flavor, right?
Yeah, Monica, you want to come say hi to the camera?
Hi, Monica. I'm Tom. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations on your book. This is like the book launch today, correct?
It is.
Yeah. So David was just talking about the genesis of the book and why you guys wanted to do this and how you ended up. How did you guys end up working together on this?
Well, I ran into David at a party and I said, I'm being offered this book. I don't have time to do it. Wish I had someone who could write half of it.
If only someone would help me, as I recall is how you put it.
Yeah, and then Dave said, hey, I'd be game. And so we started talking, and next thing we knew, we wrote a proposal officially, and they accepted it, and we said, okay, you do 15, I do 15.
And that's how you split it up.
And that was it.
And both of you have done work in Chicago, either on radio or print or the whole thing, right?
Right. I mean, both of us had researched a lot of these foods already.
Yeah.
I had researched the Jibarito and the Jimshu and the...
Must have been tough work researching all this, huh?
Yeah. It is
Just have to go to the gym an extra couple days a
Yes.
week.
But you can get to interview a lot of people, and it's a lot of fun. And so I was able to take a lot of that and reuse it, re-record it, and use it for the book.
And one of the big pluses to me of doing this book was illustrated abundantly today. It's meeting the cool people who are behind the food.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Pacelli's an amazing, or Pacelli, the Americanized version of his Italian. He represents Chicago in so many ways, not only in the way he talks, but just the way he thinks, and his kind of open, gregarious, working man's nature.
And he's the grandson of the original founder of Al's, is that right?
A nephew, I believe.
I'm sorry.
So the grandfather had started selling sandwiches, and then supposedly he went to a peanut wedding, and he used his slicer to slice the beef really thin. But then his son, who's the Uncle Al, he decided to actually make a business out of it where you sell it from a stand.
And that was all prior to that, I was reading that there was a lot of mob fronts that were, they would put the stand out in front and have the back for like the bookie stuff right there. And then they realized, wait a minute, people love this stuff. They're buying it. Why don't we just go on the straight and narrow and do this for a business?
Yeah, that's what Chris said. That his Uncle Al originally had it outside a bookie joint, and then they're like, you know what? Let's use the bookie joint and keep the beef stuff.
And then people, complimentary copied that recipe, if you will, all over Chicago.
It
right?
seems to me to be the Chicago food. I mean, other cities have pizza, other cities have hot dogs. Chicago's the only city that really has Italian beef. Sometimes you find like Joe Mantegna goes to LA and opens up a Chicago type food
Sure.
place, which is completely cool. I think it's closed now. Chicago is where the Italian beef was born, and where it's still an everyday food for a lot of people.
It's like you talk about that to people from out of town. Like my wife is from California, and I say Italian beef. She's like, "I go what?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, mastacholi," and she's like, "Masta what?"
You could say
Masta
it's
cho-
Yeah, why don't people know mastacholi?
They don't. They were like, "That's made up." I'm like, "No, you go to the Jewels and you find the mastacholi. It says it on the box, and
You
they
go
don't
to your
believe
son's
it."
football banquet, it's always the chicken and mastacholi dinner.
Exactly, and then the Italian beef, right?
And if you said Italian beef to an Italian, they wouldn't know what the hell you were talking about, because of course you don't have anything like it in Italy.
Right. It's just and I read different variations of the genesis of the origins of the Italian beef, how it started, or why it started. I read somewhere along the way it was more of a Depression era food because of rationing and slicing it really thin.
Well, the real Depression era version of the Italian beef is the Italian soaker, which they sell here. Sometimes it's called gravy bread.
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
just the bread
Dipped.
in the sauce, which I've actually done at home when I
it's
order
wonderful.
get a pound of beef,
It's a carb sandwich.
Yeah,
God,
and
yeah.
we have leftover juice.
You get a
What are
little
we gonna do?
mozzarella on there too. You want to get crazy?
You
Put
could do
some
that.
peppers
I'm
on there.
actually. This is one instance where I'm kind of a purist. I mean, I prefer
understand.
no cheese on my Italian beef. If people like that or ketchup on their hot dog, that's cool.
Do you are you more of dipped, not dipped Italian
dip,
beef?
definitely dip.
Peppers.
Hot and sweet.
What about the combo, the Italian sausage and beef? That's also very
It's
Chicago.
okay. I don't know how you feel about that, Monica. My feeling is that when you put a sausage in there, there's not enough room for the beef.
No, it kind of changes
I
the
want it
flavors.
separate. I want sausage tastes like sausage.
Good. Yeah, my feeling exactly.
So you guys split 15 and 15, and you were here. You debuted this with this release here at Al's Beef.
It was
Taylor's.
officially, it's launched, yeah, we're kind of officially launching here. It officially launched on the 21st. But for some reason, they were on sale. You could get them on Amazon before
sure.
that. But now people can still get the book
Ding ding, right there, fantastic. And so
on Amazon or local bookstores. Barnes & Noble has it.
And David, you wrote this specific story about Al's Beef.
About Al's, yeah.
Monica, what are some of the ones that you did, just for the folks who
I
are
wrote
going to
about
pick
the
this book up?
Jibarito. I wrote about Akutagawa. I wrote about sweet steak, steak and lemonade, jimshu. What other ones?
These are things, I'm guessing, if I may presume,
Sure.
90% of the people seeing this will have no idea. Like Akutagawa? What? And that's great, because I think one of the reasons I hope this book is successful is that people want to try stuff they've never had before.
Absolutely. Is there one that stood out as like the what? I didn't know that was a thing more than, or did you know kind of all about them?
Well, with pizza puffs, I did not anticipate that they would have been made by Syrian Iranians at the turn of the century.
That's
who had been
amazing.
selling hot dog carts from baby buggies, with burners. And stumbled across a guy who couldn't pay his bill to buy his hot dog equipment. His widow said, "All we have is this tamale recipe." She gave it to him. He started the Illinois Tamale Company. And then when they were delivering the hot dog stands, they said, "We need something to compete with the pizzeria." And then they made up the pizza puff.
Unbelievable. And that's so Chicago, right? That's wonderful.
Right, taking what you have and making something kind of cool out of it.
Right, adapting to the palate of the Midwest.
Or
Chicago.
adapting to your budget, in the case of Italian beef. For peanut weddings, people who couldn't afford to have a lavish spread, and a lot of us on Taylor Street couldn't afford that in the old days. Cut the beef really thin, put it in bread, soak the bread, so you have like a half a pound of food there.
Yeah.
When most of it's jus, but it's tasty.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you both. Congratulations on this great book. I really do love the fact that you made it small enough you could put it in the glove compartment of the car or even on your bike. It's a great way to explore the city, because what's better than eating your way through Chicago, right?
Absolutely. Thanks
Awesome.
So much.
Do you guys have any social media stuff that you want people to follow or anything
Sure,
like that?
Monica, you want to?
Sure, I'm at Monica Eng Reporter on Instagram or at Monica Eng on Twitter.
Fantastic, David.
I'm David Hammond on Facebook, and on Instagram it's DC Hammond. But if you just search David Hammond on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. Enjoy the beef.
I did.